Isn't this a cute picture? And I chose this picture to start out this teaching because it's a little girl forgiving a little boy and trying to become friends again with him. And there's a beauty in childlike forgiveness. There's a beauty as we see this. There's such loving, such forgiving at this age. I feel like this is very important teaching because there's so much that can happen in our lives if we apply this lesson. And today we're going to be looking at the power of forgiveness. When we actually forgive somebody else, there's a power involved in this whole area of forgiveness. And let's begin by reading this quote by Francis Frangipane. Would you like to see the Lord shatter the spiritual prisons in your life, the areas where you feel trapped? Then forgive those who put you there, for surely the walls of your imprisonment are made of your own anger and unforgiveness towards others. And this is absolutely true. We actually erect prisons around our life, and we are trapped if we do not forgive other people. So let's look at this very seriously. The power of forgiveness. Well, first of all, forgiveness is one of the most powerful responses that we could ever have. Yet, the steps in forgiving others may be difficult. It's not easy to forgive. It's very hard. And we can't do it by ourselves. The love of Christ is the only way we can set free those who have deeply wounded us. And we all have been hurt by other people throughout our lives. It just happens. We live in an imperfect world with imperfect people, and they hurt us, they offend us, they do things wrong. And sometimes those wounds are very, very deep, and only the love of Christ can set us free from those deep wounds. The love of Christ gives us the only context we have for believing God has forgiven us. The deep love of Christ, that He died on the cross for you and I while we are yet sinners, and we are so sinful, each one of us. We have the fallen nature and we do things wrong all the time, but the love of Christ is so forgiving. So, in that context, we believe and know that God has forgiven us, and then we can forgive others because we need His love in order to forgive. There is perhaps no greater gift you can give God than a heart that knows the power of forgiveness and decides to set others free. It's a gift to God when you forgive. He knows how hard it is. He knows the deep hurts in our life. He knows that it's painful. But when we choose to forgive and we take hold of His grace to forgive others, it is a gift to Him because we decide to set others free, no matter how painful it is. Forgiveness shows us that the love, grace, and mercy of Jesus are operating in our lives because we can't do it without His mercy, without His grace, and without His love. It's a supernatural act on our part to forgive, and He helps us with it. So it's time to access this life-changing grace of forgiveness. We need to set everyone free in our life. And I want to ask you this question. Is there someone who has offended you? Are you able to release the person in forgiveness? Think of this as we go through this teaching, and I'll come back to it at the end. God gives us divine power to forgive others. There is a power that truly sets the captive free and can affect the whole world, because there's so many in the world that are living in unforgiveness and it's ruining their lives. And God is the one who gives us the divine power to forgive others. We who have received the freedom of forgiveness have the power to set one another free. We've received freedom from Jesus Christ, so we have the power to set others free. And forgiveness defeats darkness on a massive scale because it involves the resurrection power of Jesus. Just think about that. It involves the resurrection power of Jesus. Nothing can defeat the greatness and glory there is in one act of forgiveness. And I want to tell you a story now. It's such a powerful story. The need for forgiveness can be seen in a story of a father and his son in Spain. This father and son, they had become angry and bitter toward one another. And the son finally left home and ran away. So his father began to search for him, but he was unable to find him. You can see the darkness, the sadness, the anger, all this in the son's eyes. It was hard. And the father just could not find his son. And after months of frantically searching, the father came to the end of his resources and he sat down sadly in a coffee shop. And suddenly he had an idea. He put an ad in a Madrid newspaper. The ad said something like this: "Dear Paco, meet me in front of the men's clothes shop at 2 p.m. on Friday. You are forgiven. I love you. Your father." That's all he said. And on Friday at 2 p.m., guess what happened? 800 Pacos showed up. They were all looking for forgiveness and love from their fathers. How important it is that we seek forgiveness and offer forgiveness to one another. It's critical in our lives in every dimension, spiritually, physically, emotionally, relationally. We must forgive. Let's read this quote by Dudley Hall. "We have been sent into the world to implement the rule of God on earth. Where there is discord, we are to replace it with harmony. Where there is hatred, we are to replace it with agape. Where there is an offense simmering into a murderous conflict, we are to replace it with forgiveness. When we choose to forgive, we invade the realm of darkness and defeat those dark forces with the power of a resurrected life." I want to leave you with this question. Is there someone who has offended you? Are you able to release the person in forgiveness? And here's a guy who's forgiven. He's like that Paco. He knows the freedom and the power of forgiveness. And he's just jubilant because it feels so good to finally be set free by the power of God when he chose to forgive. He's experienced the power of forgiveness. And may the Lord help us to experience this as well. God bless.